I'm Azwa, and I'm going to present the proposal of the impact of social media on UiTM Shah Alam from the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering. So for the introduction, social media is a computer type of technology application that allows users to easily share or produce their idea to the public. And social media has become an important part of life today. Social media plays an important role in changing people's lifestyles. Next is, most of the users of the social media is from the Gen X and Y. The social networks like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok is an excellent platform to manage life in terms of education and business and socializing. And for the problem statement, social media plays a huge role in students' lives. However, the impact in which we are questioned about, does it lead the student on the internet addiction? And then does it increase the cyberbullying? And they prone to sleep deprivation? And does it lead them to a social isolation? Next is the objectives of study. To identify how engineering students use social media in their learning session. 2 is to determine the statistics of cyberbullying that are currently happening among engineering students in UiTM Shah Alam. And lastly is to investigate the factor of social isolation that occur among engineering students. Significance of the study is the Student Representative Council and UiTM management will get useful information about the impact of social media among the students and will assist them to create effective way on how to overcome the negative impact. Next is the limitation of study. The study will only take findings from UiTM Shah Alam Mechanical Engineering students only, as the result obtained will show the students' habits of using social media. And the next slide is previous studies. They are proved by the Novotny, she is a psychiatrist. The effect of social media addiction will cause physical loneliness and will affect people's health. Next is, it will also cause people to isolate themselves from physical social environment that can damage their physical and mental health. Mien studies in 2020 shows that people with lower self-esteem will have more tendency to have social anxiety. And lastly is Xiang's survey shows that Malaysia is at the second in the Asia and 28 in the world for cyberbullying reported case. And for the last slide is methodology. We developed a survey to understand more on student view regarding social media. The survey method we use to gain data is cluster sampling. The reason we use this method is to know the student perception about the impact of social media. The survey consists of 2 classifications of selected elements, including the positive and the negative impact of social media. We will record the data from the respondent for our research. And that's all from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum and very good evening to our lecturer Sir Hairul Azhar Muhammad. Today I will present about the impact of social media on UiTM Shah Alam students from the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering for our study. Okay. A definition of social media is a computer type of technological application that allows users to easily create ideas and share materials such as photos and videos with the public. Most of them will create a moment and share it to a social network such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As we know, social media plays an important role in changing people's lifestyle, such as, for example, especially for a teenager. Okay, at this moment, the technology is one of Generation Y and Z daily life. According from some researchers, by 2023, worldwide active users are expected to reach approximately 3.43 billion. In Malaysia, there were 28 million social media users in Malaysia in January 2021. Okay, we have stated that we have some problem statements for our study. First, is internet addiction can be a problem to a student? Second, can social media increase cyberbullying or instead of it? Third, are students exposed to sleep deprivation? And last one is, does social media tend to social isolation among the students? There are some our objective of the study. First, to identify how engineering students use social media in their learning session. A second, to determine the statistic of cyberbullying that currently happen among engineering students in UiTM Shah Alam. And third one is to investigate the factors of social isolation that occur among engineering students. The significance of the study. From the result, we will get a useful information about the impact of social media among the students. It also will assist the student representative council and UiTM management to create effective ways on how to overcome the negative impact. Lastly is we will create some methods to reduce the value of statistics of cyberbullying problems. For our study, it has some limitation before we get the final result. First one is the sample size is too limited as it focuses on the engineering student in UiTM Shah Alam, and not involve other faculty. The result might be different from other groups of students because not all engineering students use the same kind of technology because it has a different specification. The last one is the personality and the style of the engineering student in using social media can also be obtained from the finding of the result. Okay. Based on our study, we have studied some study based on some researcher. According to some researcher, has a three negative impact that impact of social media, which can cause a physical loneliness, social anxiety, and cyberbullying. For our study, we will use method survey, which consists of two classification of selected elements, including the positive factor and negative factors of social media use. We will adopt a survey method of sampling, and probability cluster sampling method was used in the data collection. And lastly is we will record the data from the respondent considering the selected variable for our research. Okay, thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Aziz Anaf and I will be presenting on the topic of the impact of social media among UiTM Shah Alam students from Faculty of Mechanical Engineering. Okay, next slide. To begin with the topic, social media is defined by a computer type of technological application that allows users to easily create ideas and share materials such as photos, videos of their activity to the public. In this case, technology is also one of the daily needs for most of the people in this era. Next. Okay. So we continue with the problem statement. Social media plays a huge role in students' lives. However, the impact in which we are questioned is, does it lead the students to internet addiction? Does it increase cyberbullying? Are they prone to sleep deprivation? And does it lead them towards isolation? Okay, next slide. So based on the objective, we can describe how the students use their social media platform. We also can determine the numbers of cyberbullying amongst the students. And we also can investigate the factors that created social isolation. Okay, next. Based on the topic discussed, we can achieve to overcome the impact stated, which is we will get useful information of the side impacts to the students. We are also able to assist them to overcome any negative impact. And last but not least, we can decrease cyberbullying among students. Okay, next slide. Limitation of studies in this case, the small amount of survey which cannot be concluded to overall students. It is also not entitled for students that do not use social media. The tendency of students' personalities can be seen through their social media. Next slide. For the previous studies, Emmy Novotny 2019 states that the health risk of physical loneliness is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day or having an alcohol addiction. Julian Hope Landstedt 2015 says social isolation is twice as damaging to physical and mental health rather than obesity. Number 3, Xiaohai and Annabelle Ngian 2020. Their research shows that the results obtained for the people with lower self-esteem have more tendency to have social anxiety. Yap Wang Xiang 2020. The survey shows that Malaysia ranks second in Asia and 28th in the world on cyberbullying among the youth. Okay, last part. Last part, which is methodology. We use cluster sampling that includes surveys on the positive and negative impact of social media. Next slide, which also include the students' knowledge on the impact of social media. We also use journals and books as reference. Alright, that's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Azmi Ali bin Umaidi, and today I would like to present about our study regarding the impact of social media on UiTM Shah student from the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering. Okay, what is social media? Social media is computer type of technological application that allow user to easily create ideas and share material such as photo and video with the public. Social media includes social networking site and blog where people can easily communicate with each other around the world. Most of the user of social media is from the Y and the Z generation, and most of them is a college student. We identify 4 problems that occur to conduct our study, which is first is internet addiction. Internet addiction can be a problem to a student. Second is cyberbullying. Can social media increase cyberbullying? Third is sleep deprivation. Are students exposed to sleep deprivation? And fourth is about social isolation. Does social media tend to social isolation among students? Our objective of the study is first to identify how engineering students use social media in the learning session. Okay, next is to determine the statistics of cyberbullying that currently happen among engineering students in UiTM Shah Alam. And lastly, we need to investigate the factor of social isolation that occur among engineering students. The significance of the study is to get information about the impact of the social media among the mechanical engineering students in UiTM Shah Alam and assist them to create effective way and method how to overcome the negative impact such as cyberbullying and sleep deprivation and self-isolation. Our study focus on engineering students in UiTM Shah Alam. The result might be different from other group of students because not all engineering students use the same kind of technology. But the personality and the style of the engineering student is using social media can be obtained from the finding of the result. Our study is aided by some of previous study and research. First is about physical loneliness by Novotny, who is freelance health writer. Is about effect health risk parallel to smoking 50 cigarettes a day. Next is Hall Lanston, who is a psychologist. The research is about the damage physical and mental health was as much than obesity. Next is study on social anxiety by Xiaohai, who is a researcher. The study is focused on the effect of using Instagram to social comparison, and people with lower self-esteem have more tendency to have social media. And lastly is about cyberbullying by Zhang, who is a writer. It's mentioned that cyberbullying statistic from 2018 until 2020, and Malaysia ranked second in the ASEAN and 38th in the world by the statistic present. Okay, how we perform our study? Okay, the methodology we use is by develop a survey, which is by using Google Form to collect the data from the mechanical engineering student in UiTM Shah Alam, and and from the data we examine it. By that, we can know about the mechanical engineering student perception about the impact of social media to them. The data will be recorded and we will considering the selected variable for our research. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Zahir bin Badar Zaman. Today, I would like to present about the impact of social media on UiTM Shah Alam students from the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering. Firstly, what is social media? Social media is a computer type of technological application that allow users to easily create ideas and share materials such as photos and video with the public. Social media includes social networking sites and blogs where people can easily communicate with each other in the world. Social media also plays an important role in changing people's lifestyle. By 2023, worldwide active users are expected to reach approximately 3.43 billion. Okay, we go move on for problem statement. First is internet addiction. Second is cyberbullying. Third is sleep deprivation. And lastly is about social isolation. For the objective of the study, to identify how engineering students use social media in their learning session. Second is to determine the statistic of cyberbullying that currently happen among engineering students in UiTM Shah Alam. Lastly is to investigate the factor of social isolation that occur among engineering students. Okay, for significance of the study, we'll get a useful information about the impacts of social media among the students. Second is we'll assist them to create effective way on how to overcome the negative impacts. And lastly is we'll create some methods to reduce the value of statistic of cyberbullying problems that happen among engineering students. For limitation of the study, firstly, the sample size is too limited as it's focused early engineering student in UiTM Shah Alam. Second is the result might be different for other groups of students because not all engineering students use the same kind of technology. And lastly is the personality and the style of the engineering student in using social media can also be obtained from the result. Okay. For the previous studies, first is physical loneliness. Second is about social anxiety. And lastly, about cyberbullying. Okay, for methodology, first is primary purpose of cluster sampling is to know about mechanical engineering students' perception about the impact of social media. Next is about perform an exhaustive examination of the prior literature from within quality journals and books. Next is develop a survey to understand the view of the student community regarding social networking site. Okay. For the next methodology is the survey consists of two classification of selected elements including the positive factor and negative factor of the social media use. Next is adapt a survey method of sampling. and a probability cluster sampling method was used in the data collection. And lastly, is will record the data from the respondee considering the selected variable for our research. Okay, thank you. That's all from me.